This is VSiN, the sports betting network.
The numbers told the story, they always do.
It's one of those idiots who believe in analytics.
This is a numbers game with Gil Alexander on VSiN.
Good Monday morning to you, the morning after. It's a numbers game at VSiN, the sports betting network, VSiN.com, Game Plus, iHeartRadio, YouTube TV, and of course, SiriusXM Channel 158. Gil Alexander, Kelly Baidalan.
Hello.
In the hizzy. After Super Bowl 60. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I know you had a great golf tournament yesterday.
Feels like we were just here because it was like immediate sweat right after we left yesterday.
What I say out there, I go watch. Scheffler going to finish one back.
It was... The Super Bowl could have never lived up to that drama, Gil. I hate to say it, but...
Here is my... I said this last night. Will Hill was kind enough to have me on the Should Have Been More podcast, but I said what I would start the show with today is exactly that line, which is... That Super Bowl lived perfectly up to the hype. The hype, if you believe everything we sort of painted out what we thought the game would be. We will talk Super Bowl 60 here, left and right, north and south, front and center, whatever way, every which way. We're going to do it here momentarily. Greg Peterson will join us a little later, talk college hoops. We will talk Phoenix Open, Country Club, and that deserves a little recap. Kelly crushed on that. Wes Reynolds will join us. Adam Burke will join us. They've got some college basketball on a pretty good night in college basketball with one huge game between Arizona and Kansas. We'll get into all that, but Super Bowl 60, may it have gone to form as well as it did for us.
Beautiful.
At least the form that we talked about here for 2 weeks, which again at the top was about the fact that again you don't have to trust Aaron Schatz's DVOA sacredly. But as guidelines, they were good. Let's go through it blow by blow. See, New England, first of all, defers on the opening coin toss. Not the opening coin toss, the only coin toss, Kelly, unless there's an overtime. But in this case, it was the only one.
They should do it every quarter.
Seattle from their own 35, Walker for 10 on the very first play, a portent of things to come. The eventual MVP. 2 plays later, Darnold Barner somehow passed Marcus Jones for 15. It felt like every Darnold pass was flirting with disaster early. Then he goes to Kupp for 23, and Vrabel decides not to challenge it. I thought he probably should have.
Oh, yeah, that was a big miss right away.
And I think Terry McAuley was wrong on the broadcast. I don't think that was a catch at all.
I don't think it was either.
It ends up ending up in a Myers 33-yard field goal, 3-0. Seahawks 11:58 left first quarter. Then New England, a couple first downs, but then Derek Hall sacks May. That a portent of things to come as the Patriots then had to punt. Seattle from their own 10. Darnold flirts with disaster again on first down, 3 and out. After under pressure, he missed a wide-open Jackson Smith and Jigba deep.
Oh,
that could have been huge early.
Yep.
Still 3-0. New England from their own 36. May to Booty to open the drive for 21, but then 3 straight negative plays. Jesus Christ, they're going the wrong way. Punctuated by Devin Witherspoon sacking May. That was a play where they had 6. The Seahawks had 6 guys at the line. Ernest Jones dropped back in coverage, and Witherspoon untouched to May. They never saw it coming. They had to punt. Seattle exploiting at that point the left side of the New England offensive line. That sack was indicative of that, but really, or I should say that sack was down the middle mainly. But really, up until that point, it was all about exploiting the left side and specifically Will Campbell. Seattle then punted. New England again, still a 3-0 game in all this. New England 3 and out after a 3rd and 5 run at their own 37 went nowhere. And that was the first time when they called that play. Remember, Collinsworth was like, that seems like a give up. That was the first time you thought to yourself, is Drake May's shoulder okay? Mm-hmm. Seattle, after incomplete deep intended for Shaheed, Walker for 30. 2 plays later, Walker for 29. But again, the Seahawks have to settle for a Myers 39-yard field goal, 6-0. Seahawks 11:16 left in the second quarter. New England a 3 and out after May was sacked by Riley Mills on second down. Seattle punts. This time New England pinned at their own 2. Collinsworth incessantly letting us know that New England needs a first down. Thanks, Chris. They get one, but then they have to punt. Seattle from their own 43 with 2:50 left in the half. Best field position of the game. They're up 6-0. They get to 1st and 10 at the New England 30 with 32 seconds left. That's when we got that Dunkin' Donuts ad with like every star imaginable. It wasn't that funny?
It really was.
Not to
amazing cast. You're right. Really,
all right.
Funny.
And then that rude Backstreet Boys crypto commercial. Darnold to Kupp for 7. Seattle uses their last time out. 2nd and 3 at the New England 23 with 23 seconds left. In the half, they have to settle for a Myers 41-yard field goal after Darnold threw slightly behind JSN in the end zone.
At any point, Gil, through these first 3 field goals, did you think, oh boy, we're leaving points out onto the field?
I did not.
Me either.
And you will see that in my betting ledger.
Yeah, me either.
That there was never a moment where I thought, again, I had that 50-1 for a shutout.
Yeah.
Which got
I couldn't
so
text you
close.
about that one, man. I thought you were very live with that for a while.
Well, I hate myself because I also stared at the halftime shutout at 9-1, maybe 5 times, and never bet it. Hate myself. Self-loathing. Anyway, that allowed Gonzalez to break that up because Darnold was behind JSN. So the Myers 41-yarder makes it 9-0 at the half. At halftime, 183-51 in total yards in favor of the Seahawks. Darnold 9 of 22 for 88, but Walker 14 carries for 94. Drake May at the half 6 of 11 for 48. Patriots had 4 first downs. Third quarter, New England 3 and out to start. Once again, Seattle might have gotten away with an offside on the punt, by the way, which would have extended the drive.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Oh, yeah, they were all over it. Seattle from their own 9. Second and 8 at their own 11. Darnold to Shaheed for 16. Next play to JSN for 16. Then Darnold for 11 into New England territory. 2 plays later, a dump off to Walker for 20. But again, they have to settle for a Myers field goal for the 4th time when Darnold missed Kupp on 3rd and 9 at the New England 22. This time from 41 out for Myers, 12-0 Seahawks, 9-12 left in the third quarter. Then a New England 3 and out after Travion got 9 on first down. They got 9 on first down, then stuffed on second, and May missed Douglas on third. Drake May was not good at football for 3+ quarters in this game. Seattle from their own 18. Milton Williams sacks Darnold on first, so that ends up in a 3 and out. Still 12-0. Game is sort of still in the balance. New England sacked on first by Byron Murphy the second. 3 and out after May threw it way too hard to Booty. Then Seattle a 3 and out, but again still up 12-0. New England 3rd and 5 at their own 44. May sacked by Derek Hall on a 4-man rush. Seattle not even blitzing getting to him. He fumbles, recovered by Byron Murphy. Seattle now set up at the New England 37. Darnold to Barner for 11 to end the third quarter. 3 plays later, Darnold to Kupp for 9 on 3rd and 9 at the New England 25. Next play, Darnold to Barner from 16 out. 19-0 Seahawks, 13:24 left. 19-0. And that was the first time you're like, wow.
Yeah.
This is not only over, competitive portion of the ball game is over, but now it's
It felt good the whole way, Gil. It felt like it was done and dusted then.
Then a streaker went on the field, and I thought to myself, if ever a game needed to show the streaker, this was it. I was really mad at that rule at that point.
What was the line? What was the line he kept using? Rocket scientist? He said it like 3 times. I was like, I don't get it. He's like, well, we got a rocket scientist out on the field.
Someone was saying on Twitter that Tirico didn't think the joke landed the first time, so he kept saying it. It's a great line. Anyway, I really was like, show the streaker, for God's sakes. Make an exception. 19-0. But now the Patriots, from their own 35, May rushes for 6. And then May, perfect pass to Mac Hollins for 24 over the middle. I don't know how he got it to him. And the next play to Hollins for 35, touchdown.
2 ridiculous passes in a row.
And there goes my shutout.
Yeah.
In the fourth quarter, just like that. Now,
I couldn't even text you, man. Like it was too as bad of a game as Drake May played. It was back-to-back gorgeous football. I mean, that touchdown pass is a gorgeous ball.
Well, the one before that was insane.
It was just like, sorry, Gil.
I just want to point this out. It was happened so quick. But by the way, I kept quiet the whole time. The guys in the text were like, "Oh my God!" Shut up. I'm like, oh, I'm not saying a word. Mike Vrabel math, ladies and gentlemen. This is your coach of the year. Man. Remember, this is the guy who, against the Chargers in the playoffs when they were up 12, just kicked an extra point. Remember, he couldn't have been bothered against the Chargers to try for 2 to go 14. Well, now you're down 19-6. You obviously go for 2 to cut it to 11, right? Mm-hmm. A 3 and an 8 would then get you tied. Not Mike Vrabel, coach of the year. He kicks an extra point, 19-7. And Tirico tries to bend over backwards, justifying it. Seattle then punts. Now New England down 19-7. Now I have a lot of live bets going and some pre-flops where I'm like, okay, is this gonna end badly for some of these? New England from their own 4, May airmails a wide open Austin Hooper. But then they overcome it with 2 first downs. 2nd and 3 at their own 44. May throws it right down the middle of the field to Julian Love. This was the point in the game where you're like, for a second there, I thought this could still go bad. But May threw it right down the middle to Julian Love, who returned it 35 yards. Seattle set up at the New England 38. Walker for 14. Walker for 10. But they settle for a 5th Myers field goal. This from 26. 22-7 Seattle with 5:35 left. New England from their own 38, then May sacked by Byron Murphy on first. They overcome it, but first and 10th to Seattle 44. May sacked by Devin Witherspoon. Is that the 6th or the 7th sack of the game? I believe it was 6 at that point. Ball jarred loose. It's actually an interception for Uchenna Nwosu. 45 to the house, 29-7 Seattle with 4:27 left. And then New England does go 8 plays, 65 yards. Made a Ramondre from 7 out. 2-point conversion fails. 29-13 Seattle with 2:21 left. And then after the onside kick failed, set up at the New England 46. 3 and out, though, after a would-be Walker 49-yard touchdown run was called back on a hold. That was significant to some.
Yeah.
That would have been the over. Nope. How much money would have changed hands on that?
I mean, not only that, obviously he ends up winning MVP, but my thought was, this is solidified. He runs this in, easy MVP.
Oh, I thought he was the easy MVP, period. I mean, that was more for the total than anything.
Right, no, I thought he was too, but that would have put it to bed without any question.
Well,
I mean, you had Jason Myers at that point was like 6-1 or something.
Walker was at that point was minus 500, minus 700. Yeah. We'll get into the Jason Myers thing. I am not of the school that he had any chance whatsoever to win this. And we spelled it out yesterday when Kelly and I were on. The path that a kicker has to have to win the MVP is so narrow. Mm-hmm. And we even said on the show yesterday, even if it's like 12-0, he's not necessarily the MVP. Mm-hmm. Anyway, the only other noteworthy thing from a prop standpoint, New England got the ball back from their own 6 with 1:49 left. They didn't end up scoring, but the last play of the game made a Trevion for 24. That was his receiving yards over.
Yeah, that helps some people.
People rejoiced on that. Seattle 29, New England 13. Congratulations to all that had Seattle every which way. Futures, pre-flop, in-game. We'll talk all about it in detail, non-play-by-play version. Next on A Numbers Game right here at VSiN.
Laptop or phone, couch or sportsbook, VSiN goes where you go. Wherever you watch VSiN, the experience stays seamless. Live shows, replays, and sports-specific clips all at your fingertips. VSiN Watch puts you in the driver's seat. Available in Roku, Samsung, Amazon, iOS, Android, app stores, or get it direct from the source at VSiN.com. Download VSiN Watch today on your favorite app store and join us on the Sports Betting Network.
This is VSiN, a network of sports betting analysts, writers, hosts, and handicappers, all here to help you become a more confident bettor. We broadcast live every day from Las Vegas, the sports betting capital of the world, and from studios across the country, giving you insight from every angle of the action. Take VSiN with you wherever you go with the VSiN Watch app, or catch us on streaming platforms and regional sports networks. You can also listen live on SiriusXM Channel 158 and on radio stations nationwide. Check out VSiN.com as well for betting tools, exclusive betting splits, AI-powered player prop projections from Opta, pro picks for every game, plus in-depth betting guides and articles built to give you an edge. From sharp betting analysis and daily best bets to insider interviews and expert breakdowns, VSiN is your trusted source for everything happening in the world of sports betting. See everything we have to offer at VSiN.com and become part of the Sports Betting Network.
Coming up on the next edition of Follow the Money, we recap everything from the Super Bowl, the game, the props. We look to next year's futures and the commercials. Loaded NBA card, plus Olympic hockey. Follow the Money, 4 to 7 Eastern on VSiN. The Sports Betting Network, SiriusXM Channel 158. Check out the website for all the betting tools analysis or get the VSiN Watch app.
Game on VSiN, the sports betting network.
The Las Vegas World Soccer Championship giveaway is in full effect. And by World Soccer Championship, once again, I mean the Global Football Global Championship.
The big one.
The big one. It's a goblet. Enter to win a world-class Vegas experience about it. 2-night stay, cabana at Stadium Swim here at Circa with $500 credit, $250 food and beverage credit, round of celebratory cocktails at the Legacy Club, limo transportation to and from the airport. That's baller right there. Learn more at circalasvegas.com. The big Las Vegas World Soccer Championship giveaway. Check it out, circalasvegas.com.
You know what, Gil? I shortchanged the drinks before. So you got $500 to drink out at the cabana. You get a $250 food and beverage credit. So that's $750 worth of drinks, plus the round of celebratory cocktails.
We get tweets being the book. Bob Heening. After 20 minutes of grading my laundry list of wagers, I come out to an ANG-aided robust $8 profit. Look out, Starbucks. In the end, Will Campbell's short arms were just too much to overcome. Do we have the Will Campbell? Tweet by any chance here, Danny? This is he just got absolutely rolled. This is from Real Jack Andrade, who said Next Gen Stats attributing 14 quarterback pressures allowed to Will Campbell in Super Bowl 60, the most pressures allowed by any player in a game this season, including playoffs.
Yikes.
Is that good? Scola. At Scola 10, first off, congrats to Kelly on his golf outright. Crazy in the current NFL to get a Super Bowl with no team going for it on fourth down. How about that, huh? No team going for it on fourth down. Pat Monaforti, modern day Jim Plunkett story with Darnold winning the Super Bowl. Yes, absolutely. Oh, Barry Wilburn passed away. I'm sorry. Thank you for letting me know, Horseplop. That is a guy who had interceptions when the Redskins beat the Broncos in 1980 after the 1987 season in the Super Bowl. Shrek McPhee. Aside from the offensive line, the biggest factor in the game was Marcus Jones refusing to catch a punt. 3 times he let it bounce into the New England 5-yard line. Collinsworth finally brought it up after the last one. Las Vegas 514, this is something DC fans were texting about yesterday. All I know is that I think that we, Washington, ended up with the correct quarterback. JD5, I believe, would have done way better than May. Feel bad for the kid. Hope he doesn't end up like Marino. See you at SoFi on Valentine's Day in 2027. In JD5, we trust. Yes, that was a big thing, sidebar, happening with DC sports fans yesterday. Enough with this BS. I want to curse so bad. A whole year we had to put up with this Drake May stuff. You played a ridiculously easy schedule. I won't go through the playoff shenanigans of how easy it was. 16 points against the banged-up Chargers. Maybe I will go through it. Sideways blizzard Denver. 5 turnovers in between that, and you're lucky Will Campbell jumped on 2 other fumbles to beat Houston in between with C.J. Stroud. Meanwhile, Jaden Daniels in the playoffs, on the road win. On the road against 15-2 Detroit win. Actually only down 11 with the ball in the third quarter against the Eagles. Stop it already. Sorry, we had to get that out, Kelly.
Yeah, well, I'd say maybe just give it more than a year for each of them.
Well, what I would say, here's what I would say to that. Well, counter to your counter is stop redrafting. Short-term memories are incredible. People's fanhood is incredible with short-term memories. Kevin Ryan. Kelly said the player he feared the most of the waste was Hideki, and he bet got her up to win. Imagine his emotions watching the action on the 72nd hole in the playoff. Congrats. I don't have to imagine it because Kelly was telling me all about it beforehand.
Oh, God. It was something. I did. Yeah, I said that. It said it on long shots. Decky was the last leave off, and it was just, the last couple days.
Tim Bowers. Congratulations, man. Tim Bowers. Thanks to my A&G education, I was able to see rather obvious live bet opportunities for Walker MVP and for Myers over 11.5 kicking points. Thanks. Also, shout out to outdoor Super Bowls. The future of mostly dome Super Bowls will be boring. I agree. Real Knicks, I'm so glad you brought up the Duncan spot. You're right, it wasn't funny, but what really bothered me is all the actors were from old NBC sitcoms except Urkel. You telling me Todd Bridges couldn't use the money? Hey, Brown, down in Juggle Inn. I've heard you talk about live betting bonanzas in college football, but will we ever see another live betting opportunity as good as hitting drives to end in a punt last night? Over and over again, first half was an absolute windfall. Shocked books had plus money up so long. Will Hill did a great job of exploiting that.
Really?
He was like 8-0. 8-0 with New England, I think he was.
That's awesome.
Super Bowl 59, it was definitely a Super Bowl of all time. I'm not sure what that's about. Last year's Super Bowl? Shooter McGamlin, do you think we'll see some teams try to copy the Seahawks and try to win with defense and running the ball? Problem with this strategy is we know that it's harder to replicate defensive success year over year than offensive success. We'll get to more tweets. I'll answer that by saying I don't know if it's a copycat league, but you can't duplicate that necessarily. And I think it's still such an offensive league that we won't see other teams. They don't make Mike McDonald's.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that was, speaking of tantrums, for those of us who bet Mike McDonald Coach of the Year yesterday, it's like, there's your evidence. Y'all voted for Vrabel over that guy. And let me just say this about the Seattle defense. Nick Emanwari, 22 years old. Byron Murphy, 23. Derek Hall, 24. Riley Mills, 24. Drake Thomas, 25. Devin Witherspoon, 25. Ernest Jones, 26. Kobe Bryant, 26. Reek Woolen, 26. Julian Love, 27. Boye Mafe, 27. Uchenna Nwosu's 29. And the old guys, Leonard Williams is 31 and DeMarcus Lawrence is 33. They're going to be good for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked a lot about what the defenses that the Patriots offense had to go up against. I mean, if you just think about play callers and Mike McDonald, you're talking about Kyle Shanahan completely made him look like a fool. You beat up on Sean McVay, and Josh McDaniels you absolutely dismantled in the Super Bowl. That's an incredible run for a defensive coordinator.
Sam Darnold, Kelly, becomes the first quarterback from that 2018 draft class to not only get to a Super Bowl, but win a Super Bowl. Remember, that's the draft that Baker Mayfield got picked number 1. Darnold was 3rd to the Jets. Josh Allen went 7th to the Bills. The chosen one, Josh Rosen, went to the Cardinals 10th. And then Lamar Jackson, the Ravens traded up to get him at 32. Not Josh Allen, not Lamar Jackson, not Baker Mayfield, none of them. Sam Darnold, Super Bowl champion.
I think Rosen still got a chance to get one home.
Well, you never know.
The Rosen one. Throws it on a Rosen rope.
There
was all kind of Rosen.
He'll always have that game against Texas A&M. Darnold becomes the first quarterback to start for at least 4 teams. He started for 5 of them, by the way, then win a Super Bowl. Getting to the pressure, May was pressured. Drake May was pressured on 52.8% of his dropbacks, the most since Next Gen Stats began tracking such data, and he absorbed 6 sacks while turning the ball over 3 times on the night. Through 3 quarters, this is from Jory Epstein on Yahoo says May had completed just 8 of 18 pass attempts. This is through 3 quarters. May was 8 of 18 for 60. Patriots converted just 2 of 11 on thirds before the final period, before the Pats ruined Seattle's shutout bid with 12:30 to play. New England punted 8 times, fumbled another possession away before that. And Devin Witherspoon, the 5th overall pick in the 2023 draft, had rushed the passer. This is the brilliance of McDonald. He had rushed the passer just 21 times in 12 regular season games this season. He hadn't rushed the passer, hadn't blitzed in either of the Seahawks' prior playoff games. He blitzed 6 times yesterday, generating a career-high 4 pressures, including a sack. He was unblocked on all 4 of his pressures, according to Next Gen Stats.
I would have guessed 3 or 4 that he blitzed on. I didn't know it was that high.
Drake May had no idea what was coming at any point.
The one I keep circling back to after this game, Drake May was not good. The Seattle defense is great. We know that. Josh McDaniels, you're supposed to be this great offensive coordinator. There was so little creativity, answers. It very much looked like one team took the full 2 weeks to prepare for this game, and one team was like, we're just going to roll out and do what we do, and had no answers for what Seattle was throwing at them.
In our Super Bowl betting guide, Kelly, I guessed the final score to be 31-13, Seahawks. It ends up being 29-13. Almost nailed it. Here are my pregame bets on the left. Some added, some talked about, most talked about, right, except for the first half and the win by 8+, which you got at BetMGM yesterday. But everything else we talked about beforehand. And then all the live bets. So to answer your question from the last segment, were you ever worried that Seattle was leaving points on the board? No, not for 1 second. And because of that guess of the score, I kind of knew when to stop also on it as well. This was a live betting boon. It was a spectacular game for those of us who had the directional thing right. Now, that didn't mean that some of the props worked out.
Yeah, it's interesting you say. I want to seize on something you said there, though, because I got in twice on Seattle's side, and I got in once on the under early, but nothing huge. And one thing you did say there, though, there was always this voice in my head of there is a point I'm going to stop at, and there was a point where I kind of stopped looking at those.
Here are your props first, Kelly. Well done.
Yeah, that was a good one. 5.5 home, 9.5 home, first quarter home. They hit a 3-0 first quarter. I was like, here's where New England's going to score. They punted right at the end of the first quarter. Darnold MVP, no dice. Kenneth Walker to record first Seahawks reception. No. How about Barner got it done, though? That was fun coming right out of the Goddard up win.
Beautiful.
I was like, oh, and that pass. You brought up the pass, how nice it was. Like, I couldn't believe
barely
it caught
got
it.
through.
Yeah, barely got there. May over rushing yards gets home. May more pass attempts than Sam Darnold gets home. The sacks get home easy. No dice on total players with reception under 13.5. The Patriots threw it to like 13 people themselves. First touchdown jersey number we didn't get home because Barter got there in the third quarter, and then Seahawks Heat money line parlay. So
I started with the loss because Charlie Puth's national anthem did not get anywhere close to 202 to 122 seconds. Ended up being 113 seconds, I believe it was.
I kind of just assumed you were good.
Oh, no.
I checked in halfway through, and he felt like he was going so slow.
But it was a beautiful version. Coming back.
Time. There's nothing more valuable. It's what drives everyone to make the most of every moment. We celebrate living large in the now. In a city where time disappears, we create experiences that electrify the soul and memories that will last forever. We go big, we go all night, and here, everyone is invited. So get loose and get loud.
This is Circa. You'll have the time of your life.
Elevate your sports betting game with VSiN's exclusive betting splits. Stay ahead with real-time market trends and track bet percentages on any matchup. Then uncover the edge by comparing them to the amount of bets placed to find out where the sharp money is headed. Upgrade to VSiN Pro to access betting splits, live odds, line moves, power ratings, and in-depth game analysis. Go to vsin.com/pro to join VSiN, the sports betting network.
This is VSiN, the sports betting network. numbers game on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Football season may be wrapped up, but the betting calendar just heating up, and VSiN Pro has you covered. With March Madness right around the corner and the MLB season fast approaching, now's the perfect time to bet smarter with VSiN Pro. Sign up today, get daily best bets from VSiN hosts and guests, real-time DraftKings and Circa betting splits, AI-powered prop tools and matchup analysis, 24/7 video and full show replays on the VSiN Watch app, plus all our betting guides, including our MLB betting guide dropping February 17th, just 8 days from now. Get started today for just $9.99 or save 50% with an annual subscription. Don't miss the best stretch of the betting year. Visit VSiN.com/subscribe. That's VSIN.com/subscribe. We get tweets at Beat of the Book. This is from, let's see here. Where do we start? Where did I leave off? Aya Oya S69, who says, the only thing I wanted Kenneth Walker to say post-game was, I'm about to get paid, as he ends the final year of his rookie contract as Super Bowl MVP. Yeah, real quick, just going back to the Super Bowl MVP talk, it was so clear early, right, when he had those it was a 30-yard run and a 29-yard run. You could sniff it out right there, like he was the leader in the clubhouse. The only other thing they could have done with MVP, quite frankly, was to do the Harvey Martin, Randy White thing from Super Bowl 12, was to say, Devin Witherspoon and Byron Murphy, you're co-MVPs. That's the only other justified thing you could have done.
I am so glad you brought that up because I did take a piece of tie or co-MVPs at 49-1 on Kalshi. I thought it was there was a chance.
But people got to stop with the kicker stuff.
I almost even thought I didn't think there was any chance Myers was going to get it solo, but I was like, maybe they even do like a Walker Myers.
Just because Jason Myers kicked those field goals doesn't mean he was the reason they won the Super Bowl, right? And by the way,
it took me a long time, Gil, to even think Darnold was definitely out of it.
Well, when Darnold got the touchdown pass to A.J. Barner, if you looked at the live numbers on FanDuel, at that point, and this is what gets back to the point, they really want to give it to a quarterback, and specifically to Darnold in this case. At that point, Walker was minus 110, and Darnold crashed to plus 310. That was as close as it got with Darnold.
I kind of chuckled.
He needed another touchdown.
He needed
pass.
Another one, yeah. I kind of chuckle at that tweet, though, because I'm like, Kenneth Walker is one of these running backs who are like, he's a good runner, he's a good receiver. I don't know if he's great at either one, and he can't pass block, but he works perfect in the system. I don't know.
He was the best player in the game yesterday.
He was the best player in the game.
On that side of the ball.
I just don't think running backs get paid like they used to, and I don't know that Seattle's going to be rushing to make sure he gets paid.
He becomes the first running back to get Super Bowl MVP since Terrell Davis in 1998, and he does it, Kenneth Walker, without scoring a touchdown.
Yeah.
Stringfellow Hawk won my field goal, turnover, and sack props, but lost all the over player props. Gives some back to the books on this one. Aaron Bender, in-game bonanza, like me, he said Seattle -4, -5.5, -6.5, -8.5, -14.5, and my son bet New England 6 straight drives to end in a punt. Aaron Bender, you and your son,
that's great.
Perfection.
That's awesome.
All right, Brian Schaefer, I'm going to take you to task on this tweet. He says, let's not act like Seattle was a juggernaut. Their defense was good, but their offense was meh. Nothing impressive. They're lucky the wrong team made the Super Bowl. I believe Bills or Denver with Bo Nix would have beat them. Still think Rams are the better team. All right, let's dissect that. I think let's start with your last thing. The Rams are clearly the second best team in football this year.
Yep.
We can all agree on that, right? The Seahawks-Rams trilogy was everything. In fact, if you look back, if you think about the whole season, what's the biggest thing, the biggest memory you have is probably that Thursday night game between the Seahawks and the Rams.
It was three awesome games.
We said awesome it then. Games.
It was the Super Bowl. It was the NFC Championship game.
But I gotta say this. People I'll keep saying it because this is what I said for 2 weeks, so I'm not saying this after the fact. You don't have to believe advanced stats sacredly. But as a guideline, they would have pointed you in the right direction here, right? Aaron Schatz had these Seahawks as the 7th best team, regular season team, since 1978, the DVOA era. Do I think they're the 7th best team? I don't. But do I think they're a really good team that was probably better than most people gave them credit for? Yes, I do. Now, the Patriots, and this I do believe, right? Because I said it after the championship game, so I'm like, is this the worst team to ever make the Super Bowl? And Aaron Schatz, I pulled him from behind the curtain, he says they're the 16th worst since 1978. I believe that because they played the third easiest schedule since 1978. So to your point that they played the wrong team, maybe they did, Brian, but the other teams didn't get there, man. The Patriots did. So I just think it was a year where everybody was flawed. And in the end, the Seahawks and the Rams were clearly, I think we can say, the two teams that were the least flawed.
Yeah, I agree. Look, I think it's I think we noted it all season long. I think it is absolutely fair to say that about New England's schedule. I just said this every step of the way with New England, though. Even after this game, Gil, like I don't really know where I rank this team just because the playoff run was like it was ridiculous defenses. Weather in the AFC Championship game. Like I don't know if this team's better than what we saw, worse than what we saw, or kind of exactly what we saw last night.
Torch D, the one who put the satin in your panties. Y'all remember that time in 2023 when the scorching hot Lions came to Baltimore and found themselves down 35-0 after 3 quarters? I do. He says, that's when I knew McDonald was a savant. Yes, McDonald, the defensive coordinator for the Ravens at that point. Shooter McGamlin, how happy was Sam Monson watching the game last night? Oh, that's a great call. Sam Monson, who from Pro Football Focus, who voted Justin Herbert first place in MVP, which some people were saying prevented Drake May from being MVP, and then Drake May lays the egg yesterday. Chance Copperpot. Someone told me there was a football game yesterday. Do you guys know what happened? He's going crazy with his Seahawks. Table Max, that Walker touchdown easily could have changed the outcome of Fezzik's Prop of the Year. By the way, MGM initially graded that as a winner, only to take it all back this morning.
Oh, that didn't get home. I was trying to count that up at the end. I kind of assumed it got home.
Which one are we talking about?
The over kickoffs.
Oh, the over kickoffs, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't look at it that closely, but by the time we got towards the end of the game, I was like, oh, Steve got home.
I'll read more of these. I just want to go through my props. So while the betting pre-flop and live on the side was just a windfall for me, in the end, I didn't get Sam Darnold MVP, right? Turns out there was a path where the Seahawks won and Sam Darnold didn't get MVP. I think they obviously gave it to the right guy. If they weren't going to give it to the defense or a couple guys on defense, then Kenneth Walker was absolutely the guy. I mentioned the national anthem, which I was off on.
I'm still stunned by that. I don't know. Like I switched to it, and it was like halfway through because I switched over from golf, and I was like, I didn't even text you. I was like, Gil won this thing. This is the slowest national anthem I've ever heard.
I felt that it was, but you know what? The choir didn't go off. The choir just did like an echo.
Yeah.
And that's what was the difference. Jersey number, first touchdown score, under 11.5 loses because it was Barner and it was late. Remember, they just kept kicking field goals. This one was like up for grabs for most of the game.
You know what's funny is I want to say, Gil, I would bet that again. I lost on that. I would bet that again.
I would.
But, like, not if you told me the first touchdown was coming in the third quarter, right?
If I knew that, I wouldn't. 3 unanswered scores, what do you know? It gets home again.
That's wild.
Winner, chicken dinner every year on that. And then the one that could have turned my Super Bowl from great into stratospherically great was the shutout at 50-1, which, again, a nod to Drew Dinsick. I hate myself for not betting the first half shutout at 9-1. The 50-1, I never really quite thought it would get there, but, man, 12 and a half minutes away, and it would have been ridiculous.
I was thinking you were live. I was in that mode of, like, I am not texting Gil about this. I really hope Danny doesn't either because we had this little chain going, text chain going, and I'm kind of just chuckling about it now because you just got, all we want to crap on Drake May, rightfully so, two gorgeous passes.
Ridiculously beautiful passes. But again, the main theme of it was there was nothing in the run-up except I was all Seattle directional. And then as the game went on, it was all Seattle directional. So even though that didn't get home, it was just awesome. I do want to say this because I brought this up on the Should Have Been More podcast last night with Will. And Will talked about this after the Toronto Blue Jays lost in Game 7 to the Dodgers, which is, okay, now in the case of the Blue Jays, pitchers and catchers, spring training, 162-game schedule, you hope to make the playoffs, then you got to go through a playoff gauntlet, then you got to get, to the World Series. The mountain you have to climb when you get so close. And I'm just going to say this about the New England Patriots in the same way I said it about the Denver Broncos. The Broncos, who won a lot of games against a lot of really bad teams by 2 points here, 3 points there, 1 point there, 4 points there. And now the Patriots, who played again, if you're to believe the Aaron Schatz stat, I'll quote it again, third easiest schedule since 1978. Well, guess what? In both cases now you're playing a first-place schedule next year. There is never a guarantee that you get back.
Mm-hmm.
There just isn't. And in the case of the Broncos, you will have now now that the Russell Wilson money is off the books, you can sign some free agents where you couldn't otherwise. But it's a whole different ballgame. Again, after the 1984 NFL season, it's the most famous example. Dan Marino and the Dolphins lost to the San Francisco 49ers in a Super Bowl at Stanford Stadium. And everybody assumed, well, Marino will get back not only one time, but multiple times. His career is just starting. It was the second year. 48 touchdown passes that year in the regular season. Unheard of. Never got back, man. I don't know if Bo Nix will ever get to a Super Bowl. I don't know if Drake May will ever get back. It is the mountain that you have to climb getting so close.
Yeah.
It's just that's the way the cookie crumbles with this.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I this is where it's tough to say, but I think I'm feeling better. If you're comparing those two, I'm feeling better where you're at as a Patriots fan than a Broncos fan. I mean, look, what were the expectations for this season, right? Most of you, if you are a Patriots fan, you think you have a quarterback, and how much do we make? That's the biggest deal in this sport. If you think you have a quarterback, then fine. We're talking about avoiding that 500 football with a mediocre quarterback always being stuck in limbo in the draft. Like, I think they've got something to build on. They just didn't belong in this game. They never did.
Point being, the Dolphins also believe they have a quarterback, and he went to the Hall of Fame, never got back. Coming back, College Hoops with Greg Peterson next.
VSiN's player prop projection tool is now available for the NBA. Get projections for points, assists, rebounds, and more powered by Opta AI. On VSiN.com/NBA props, we line up our projections against the latest DraftKings odds so you can quickly spot mismatches and find value before the market adjusts. The NBA player prop projections tool is available exclusively to VSiN Pro subscribers. Check it out now at VSiN.com/NBA props and join us on the Sports Betting Network.
Check out Stormy and JVT on Money Moves, only on VSiN.
And maybe that's why they wouldn't, because they're the Giants and they don't do things that make sense.
Out of all these divisions, this is the one that I am the most curious about because I do think there are positive signs for the Bears.
They'll take you on a fun, fast-paced journey, weaving in everything you need to know to make an educated bet, while also not shying away from the excitement of a same-game parlay sweat. Money Moves, weekdays at 2 p.m. Eastern on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Numbers Game on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Numbers Game live from Circa Resort Casino, downtown Las Vegas. Gil, Kelly, we get tweets beating both Table Max. That Walker touchdown easily could have changed the outcome for Fezzik's prop of the year. Oh, we read that one before. I'm sorry. Charlie D, USA number 1. I hit my Charlie parlay. That's what he calls it. He calls his parlays Charlie parlays. On that last play to Henderson, over 25 passing yards, 24-yard pass play, clinched it 2 yards prior, 16-1, 16.5-1. Mac Hollins over 40 passing yards the other leg. Good for you, Charlie D. NCI 95 Gambler. Thanks for the great Super Bowl coverage, Gil Kelly. It was a profitable Sunday. That could have been historic had New England points scored 0. Yeah, me too. I also took no touchdown scored in the game, but I can't really complain because I was on the right side of Henderson, over 2.5 receiving yards, May under 37.5 rushing yards, and over 13.5 the longest rush. Enjoy your 2 weeks off, Gil. Oh, I will. Thank you.
Great one from Ben Andor.
The James Lloyd. Did I miscalculate the anthem? I thought it was from the first word to last word. My stopwatch says it was way over. No, it was under. And we talked about this yesterday on the show. When it was taken off the board, it went from my number at 122 to 125 seconds.
Yep.
Then it was taken off the board and it was reposted at 115. And I think it got to 116 the last I saw it. And it ends up being, by my stopwatch, 113. Was not close. This is from Richard Burkhardt. Wait, there was a Super Bowl? I spent the whole evening prepping for today's show about MLB futures. No! Mike Alvarez, he says. Just listener on listener crimes. This is Nemo Ryan's voice. What a game script. Had a couple 13-14 wagers. Hit first, touchdown, 14-1. Silly boosted 4-legger on Henderson. Garbage yards at the buzzer to have a rather profitable night. Didn't hit much else. Betting the big game a tradition unlike any other. Everybody's pumped about this now. And Ben Handorf. Gil, I speak for my many Canadians from coast to coast to coast. Why do you have to bring the Blue Jays into this?
Great tweet.
I'm sorry about that. I apologize.
Blue Jays catching strays this morning, man.
Sorry, man. Apologize. I have no defense. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a little college basketball break. Greg Peterson joins us now, part of the glue that holds this whole operation together. He's the host of a daily college basketball podcast called Coast to Coast Hoops, which he has done for over, I believe it's 2,400 days. Yes, Greg? Yes? Do I get that right?
Over 2,300 days. And while you guys were watching the Super Bowl, I was looking at Southland and MEAC and SWAC action for today. So I'm fired up.
Well, before the Super Bowl was played, there was some awesome college basketball during the weekend. Starting with Friday night between UConn and St. John's. St. John's ends up winning it. I could not help but feel, though, after that game, that I started getting UConn championship vibes. Am I off on this?
Oh, no, not at all. And I took St. John's on the money line, but I do feel like this UConn team is by far the superior team. It is a UConn bunch that has taken a few losses in late January, early February, and then got on to win the title game. Look, 2 years ago and 3 years ago as well. It's a UConn team that's very, very complete. I think the big X factor for them is that if you look at them overall for the season, Solo Ballo is such a big part of that team from a season ago. He shot 40+% from three-point range last year. He's only shooting about 30% this year. If he can have that ironed out, if he can get that three ball to drop here in the final month and a half of the regular season into the NCAA tournament, this is a very, very lethal UConn team. And there's a lot of cases where a team loses a game and you leave pretty impressed, like with UConn. They've only lost the game that we saw on Friday against St. John's. They lost against Arizona. That's when Terrace Reed, their top rebounder, was out of the game. This is still a bona fide contender, and I am much like a lot of the teams that lost over the weekend that maybe are in the top 8, top 10 in terms of futures market. I still feel relatively bullish about all of them making a run.
And then Saturday was just tremendous as well. First of all, Michigan State downing Illinois in overtime was probably the game of the night in college hoops on Saturday. Houston beat BYU by 11 at BYU. Carolina beat Duke by 3 at Chapel Hill. Vandy had that sick comeback against Oklahoma that fell 1 point short after just being down $1 million late in that game. I'm curious, when you look through, here's what I would ask about all those games collectively. Can we at least knock, let's say, BYU out of the championship contender sweepstakes? Can we do that at the very least?
I still think that they can honestly make a little bit of a run, even though they've lost 4 straight, mainly because when you've got a guy in AJ DeBonsa who's able to give you 23 points, you always have a chance. And when it comes to the NCAA tournament, unlike any other sport, you just have no idea who you're going to see in the NCAA tournament. Like, you can line up in baseball. It's like, oh, they're going to play this team in a 3-game series or a 5-game series or something like that. You can't do that in college basketball. Keep in mind, when North Carolina made the title a few years ago, they had to knock off the 15th seed in St. Peter's to make the Final Four. That's the one thing that makes all these teams live in college basketball, and that's what makes trying to take a look at these futures. That's what makes everything just a little bit difficult in general. You just do not know what you're going to get in terms of draw. Like, am I feeling bearish about BYU? Absolutely. Am I feeling great about them being a top 10 team in the sport? They're out of the top 10 in my opinion. Can they make a run? Yes, because there's always that element of you have no idea what the heck you're going to get on your side of the bracket come March.
That's fair. But it sounds like we're simpatico on the fact that they're probably, when I list like 15 teams that I think can win a championship, they might not be one of those 15 unless the draw sort of goes their way. Let's just talk about, before we get to your Fab 5 picks, big game tonight. Undefeated Arizona going to Kansas. What do you think about this?
Oh, it is so interesting because you've got an Arizona team that has been the top team in the sport. Let's call it what it is. They are undefeated. They have won on the road, knocked off UConn. They have knocked off, at the very least, 5 ranked teams. I think it might be 6 at this point. But you've got a Bill Self Kansas team that has never lost at home on Big Monday. You're right now seeing this line at 2.5, and I sort of split the difference. I made Arizona the 1.5 point favorite. I think all good things come to an end, but you can make that for Arizona on their side of things. You can make that argument for Kansas on their side of things. So I took the 2.5 points here. I think that'd be a very tough, very competitive game. Kansas continuing to get the job done on defense. Offense, even with Darren Peterson out there, a little bit suspect, but Arizona's a team that plays very fast. I anticipate some late game fouling, so that 152 total, I'm in on the over, and I took the 2.5 with Kansas. Don't necessarily want the money line, though.
Okay. Never lost on Big Monday. People love that stat. You'll hear that stat a million times today.
Yes.
All right, let's
Can't wait to watch this one.
I'm very pumped. All right, let's do it. Greg Peterson's Fab 5 has nothing to do with Arizona and Kansas. He goes all around college basketball elsewhere, though. Where do you want to start, Greg?
How about if we do start with St. John's taking on Xavier? Right now, that total, when I gave this out, it was more around 162.5, 163, down to 161. I do like the under, mainly because you've got a Xavier team that can't shoot. 272nd in all of college basketball with regards to their 2-point shooting percentage. Recognize that St. John's is a very up-tempo team, and maybe they experienced a little bit of a hangover after that big win on Friday against UConn, but this has been a dominant defense. They're at home a top 20 team in terms of points allowed on a per possession basis. They cut down on your clean possessions as well, being a top 35 team in terms of turnovers generated on a per possession basis. St. John's not necessarily the world's greatest shooting team either. So I'm in on the under at Xavier St. John's.
How about Bradley catching 2.5 versus Belmont?
I like Bradley here on the money line. Belmont has done a great job with their defense away from home. Top 10 team in terms of points allowed on a per possession basis. As a matter of fact, they shoot 42.5% from 3 away from home. Here's the issue with Belmont, though. They're outside the top 290 in terms of turnovers on a per possession basis on offense. And let's say that this is a tight game. Belmont is a bottom 40 team in the country with their free throw shooting percentage, despite the fact that they've got one of the best shooters in the country, Tyler Lundblade. Makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Bradley's a top 35 team in terms of generating turnovers on defense. I like Bradley here to spring the upset out there in old Illinois.
How about Southern Illinois? Speaking of Illinois, Southern Illinois versus Indiana State, the Fighting Larry Birds, the Sycamores. Total at 144.5.
Yep, was 144.5. Now it's starting to get up to 147, 147.5, but I made my total more around 149, 149.5. So I still like this over. You're going to get a lot of possessions in this game. Both teams are outside the top 150 with regards to their opponent's 2-point shooting percentage on defense, and both offenses really thrive with regards to being able to get the ball down low. I do think that you're going to get just a very up-tempo game with Southern Illinois, top 75 team in terms of total possessions per game. So I'm in on that over.
Valpo, Drake, total 143.5.
I like this total under. Now, Drake has actually been giving up more points per possession at home rather than away from home, but Valparaiso just can't shoot. They're outside the top 340 in terms of their 2-point shooting percentage, but for this Valparaiso team, they've been a top 100 team in terms of points allowed on a per possession basis. Low tempo game expected here. Valparaiso outside the top 235 in terms of total possessions per game. Drake outside the top 200 as well. So I took a shot on the 143.5 to the under.
And finally, UNC Wilmington catching 1.5 versus Charleston.
I would say you can bypass the points with UNC Wilmington. I like them on the money line. This is a team that is very dominant on the boards, a top 40 team with regards to rebound percentage, goes into the top 10 away from home. And Charleston, even with all the injuries that they've had and getting those guys back, they are outside the top 340 with their 3-point shooting percentage, getting manhandled down low. I like Wilmington here on the money line.
Greg Peterson, everybody. Greg, appreciate you, man. Enjoy the games tonight. Good luck with